Hello there, and welcome back to the Sleepy Science channel. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe the day left you with too much noise still rattling around inside you. Maybe you're someone who finds it easier to rest when the mind has something warm and quiet to hold on to. Or maybe you simply needed a reminder, gentle and unhurried, that you are not alone in this world. Whatever brought you here, you are welcome. Tonight we are not traveling to distant galaxies or diving into deep ocean trenches. Tonight we are staying close, we are turning toward each other, because tonight's journey is about the most quietly remarkable force in human life: love, kindness, and the invisible threads of connection that hold us all together. Science has spent decades studying what poets and grandmothers always knew: that we are built for each other, that kindness heals, that love changes us at the cellular level, that belonging is not a luxury, but a biological need, as real as hunger or breath. So tonight, we will drift through 100 gentle truths about love, kindness, and human connection. Some will surprise you, some will make you feel seen, and some, I hope, will simply be soft enough to carry you quietly off to sleep. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Just let these words settle over you, like a warm blanket on a quiet evening. Let's begin. Humans are among the most socially connected species on Earth. We are wired for relationship, in a way that goes far deeper than preference or personality. Our brains, our bodies, our immune systems, and even our genes respond to the presence or absence of other people. Connection is not something we choose to need, it is something we are built around. The need to belong is one of the most powerful human motivations. Psychologists place it alongside food, water, and shelter as a fundamental drive. When this need goes unmet, people do not simply feel lonely, they feel unwell. The body registers social rejection in the same regions of the brain that process physical pain. Being left out genuinely hurts, not metaphorically, but neurologically. Loneliness is processed in the brain like physical pain. When researchers scan the brains of people experiencing social rejection, they see activation in the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that lights up when you stub your toe or burn your hand. The brain does not distinguish clearly between a broken bone and a broken connection. Both register as suffering. Holding someone's hand actually reduces pain. Studies have shown that when people in pain hold the hand of someone they love or trust, their pain ratings drop measurably. The physical touch of another person sends signals through the nervous system that reduce the stress response and increase feelings of safety. We are literally calmed by each other's presence. Eye contact between two people who care for each other synchronizes their nervous systems. When you look into the eyes of someone you love, both of your heart rates begin to align, your breathing patterns move closer together. Your brain waves show increasing synchrony. Looking at each other is not just communication, it is a form of biological attunement. A warm hug releases oxytocin in both the giver and the receiver. Oxytocin is sometimes called the bonding hormone, though it is far more complex than that label suggests. It reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. It lowers blood pressure. It increases feelings of trust and generosity. And it does all of this in both people simultaneously. Hugging is a two-way act of healing. Oxytocin is released not just by touch, but by eye contact, by kind words, and even by remembering a loving relationship. The body does not require the physical presence of someone to feel the warmth of connection. A memory of being loved can trigger the same hormonal response as the love itself. The people who have held us continue to hold us, even in their absence. Kindness is contagious. When people witness an act of kindness, they are measurably more likely to perform one themselves within the following hours. This is called moral elevation, a warm, uplifting feeling that motivates pro-social behavior. One act of generosity does not stop with the person who receives it. It ripples outward through everyone who sees it. Performing an act of kindness activates the brain's reward system in the same way that receiving a gift does. When you do something kind for another person, the areas of your brain associated with pleasure, reward, and social connection light up with activity. Being generous feels good because the brain was designed to encourage it. Kindness rewards the giver as much as the receiver. People who regularly perform acts of kindness report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction. This is not simply a personality trait of already happy people. Research has shown that actively choosing to be kind, even when it takes effort, produces measurable increases in well-being over time. Kindness is not just a moral virtue, it is a practical path toward feeling more alive. Compassion, the desire to relieve another's suffering, activates different neural pathways than empathy alone. While empathy involves feeling what another feels, compassion involves a warm motivation to help. Compassion is associated with positive emotions and resilience. Empathy without compassion can lead to burnout. Compassion without losing yourself is one of the most sustainable forms of love. The vagus nerve connects the brain to the heart and is deeply involved in social bonding. This long-wandering nerve runs from the brainstem down through the heart and gut and plays a central role in how we connect with others. When we feel warmth toward another person, the vagus nerve is active. When we feel safe in someone's presence, the vagus nerve helps regulate our heart rate and breathing. It is sometimes called the nerve of compassion. Smiling at a stranger activates their mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are brain cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing it. When someone smiles at us, our mirror neurons begin the process of smiling ourselves before we even consciously decide to. A single smile can set off a quiet chain reaction of warmth in anyone who receives it. Laughter shared between two people creates a sense of social bonding that lasts well beyond the moment of laughter itself. Shared laughter is one of the most reliable predictors of relationship satisfaction. Couples who laugh together regularly report higher levels of closeness and commitment. Laughter is not just a response to humor, it is a social signal that says, "I feel safe with you." Children raised with consistent warmth and emotional availability develop more resilient nervous systems. The quality of early attachment shapes not just emotional development, but physical health, immune function, and even the structure of the developing brain. Being loved well in early life is one of the greatest gifts one person can give another. Its effects last an entire lifetime. Secure attachment in childhood is associated with stronger relationships throughout adulthood. People who experienced reliable, responsive caregiving as children tend to find it easier to trust, to be vulnerable, and to recover from conflict in their relationships. Early love teaches us what love is supposed to feel like. It becomes the template we carry forward. Even in adulthood, attachment styles can shift. People who experienced insecure attachment in childhood can develop more secure patterns through consistent, loving relationships later in life. The brain remains plastic. Healing is possible. A good friendship, a loving partner, or a kind therapist can literally rewire how we relate to the world. The presence of a trusted person reduces the perceived difficulty of a challenging task. In one study, people standing at the base of a steep hill judged it as less steep when a friend stood beside them, compared to when they stood alone. The world genuinely looks less daunting when we do not face it alone. Connection changes our perception of reality itself. Social support is one of the strongest predictors of recovery from serious illness. People with strong social connections recover faster from surgery, respond better to cancer treatment, and have better outcomes following heart attacks than those who are more isolated. The people around us are not just emotionally important. They are medically significant. Loneliness increases the risk of early death by as much as 26%. This figure, drawn from large-scale research across multiple countries, places chronic loneliness in the same risk category as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. We have known for decades that smoking kills. We are only now beginning to understand that isolation does too. Married people, on average, live longer than unmarried people. This effect is found across cultures and is not simply explained by wealth or lifestyle differences. The sense of being known, of mattering to someone, of having someone who notices when you are unwell, appears to have a direct protective effect on health and longevity. Commitment, in its deepest form, is a health intervention. Gratitude expressed directly to another person strengthens the relationship more than gratitude felt privately. Telling someone what they mean to you, specifically and sincerely, produces a measurable increase in closeness in both people. We often feel gratitude without saying it out loud, but the saying of it, the choosing to voice it, is where much of its relational power lives. Gratitude activates the medial prefrontal cortex, a brain region associated with moral cognition and interpersonal bonding. When we feel genuinely thankful, we are not just experiencing a pleasant emotion, we are activating the neural circuits that help us understand and care for other people. Gratitude, at the neurological level, is a form of love. Forgiveness is associated with lower blood pressure, better immune function, and reduced levels of depression and anxiety. When we carry resentment, the body carries it too. The stress hormones that accompany unresolved anger and hurt circulate through the bloodstream continuously, taking a quiet physical toll. Forgiving is not a gift we give to the person who hurt us. It is a gift we give ourselves. People are more generous in the presence of natural light. Studies have found that people in brightly lit environments tip more, donate more, and report greater feelings of warmth towards strangers than people in dim or artificial light. Light and warmth are deeply connected in the human mind. The metaphors we use for kindness, warmth, brightness, radiance, are not arbitrary. They reflect something real in our neurology. The human brain has a negativity bias, meaning it registers threats and negative experiences more strongly than positive ones. This was useful for survival in a more dangerous world. But it means that kindness and love must be actively and repeatedly practiced to feel equally real. We have to choose to notice the good. We have to choose to remember the warmth. This is not weakness, it is the honest work of a human mind. Positive social interactions trigger the release of serotonin, one of the brain's key mood-regulating chemicals. This is why a good conversation can lift your spirits in the same way that exercise or sunlight does. Social connection is a biological antidepressant. It works not through pills or prescriptions, but through eye contact and honest exchange, and the simple act of being heard. Feeling heard is one of the most bodily fate in heard, IR. When we feel that someone has truly listened to us, not just waited for their turn to speak, but genuinely attended to us, something in the nervous system relaxes. The body recognizes being understood as a form of safety. And in that safety, healing becomes possible. Active listening changes the brain of the listener as much as the speaker. When we give our full attention to another person, our brains begin to anticipate their thoughts and mirror their emotional state. Deep listening is not passive. It is one of the most active and generous things one person can do for another. Altruism, helping others without expectation of reward, is found in every human culture ever studied. No culture has been discovered that lacks some form of mutual aid, communal care, or generosity toward those in need. Kindness is not a Western value or a modern invention. It is a human universal, woven into the species from the beginning. Even very young infants show preferences for kind behavior. Studies with infants as young as 6 months have shown that babies prefer to look at and reach toward characters who help others over those who hinder them. We do not learn to value kindness, we arrive with it. It is one of the oldest things about us. Generosity in one person tends to increase generosity in others across multiple degrees of social separation. In large social network studies, researchers found that when one person becomes more generous, it influences not just the people they interact with directly, but the friends of those friends, and the friends of those friends. Kindness travels further than we can see. Humans are capable of forming deep bonds with people they have never met in person. Letters, books, art, music, and now digital connection have always allowed people to feel genuine closeness across physical distance. The bond formed with a character in a novel, or with a voice on a podcast, or with a stranger's words in a letter, is neurologically similar to the bond formed in physical proximity. Connection does not require the same room. Shared experiences, even simple ones, create stronger social bonds than parallel experiences. Two people who do the same thing at the same time feel more connected than two people who do the same thing separately. Synchrony, moving together, breathing together, working together, creates the feeling of being together. It is one reason music and dance and ceremony have always been at the center of human community. Music listened to together, synchronizes brainwaves across multiple people simultaneously. In studies where groups of people listened to the same music, their neural activity began to align. Music is a technology of togetherness, one of the oldest tools humans have used to create the feeling of shared experience and collective belonging. The kindest people are not necessarily those who have suffered least. Research consistently finds that people who have experienced significant hardship often develop greater empathy and generosity toward others who are struggling. Suffering, when integrated rather than suppressed, can become a source of profound compassion. Pain understood becomes pain that reaches toward others in pain. Touch is the first sense to develop in the human embryo. Before we can see or hear or taste, we can feel. The skin is our original way of knowing the world. And throughout life, appropriate touch remains one of the most direct pathways to feeling safe, valued, and connected. We begin in touch, we heal in touch, we comfort each other in touch. Skin-to-skin contact between a newborn and a parent regulates the baby's heart rate, breathing, and body temperature more effectively than an incubator. The parent's body becomes the child's environment. We are each other's medicine from the very first hours of life. The warmth of another human body is among the most precise biological interventions we know. People in loving relationships have been shown to have longer telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of DNA strands that are associated with longevity and cellular health. Love does not just feel like it extends life. At the cellular level, it actually does. The people we love leave their mark, not just on our hearts, but on our biology. Chronic stress is significantly reduced by the proximity of a trusted person, even without any conversation. Simply being in the same room as someone you feel safe with lowers cortisol levels measurably. Presence is its own form of care. Sometimes, the most healing thing one person can offer another is simply to be there, quietly, without needing to fix anything at all. People underestimate how much others like them. This is called the liking gap, a well-documented phenomenon in social psychology. After a conversation with a new person, both individuals consistently rate the other as having liked them more than they liked the other. We systematically underestimate how warmly we are received. The world is slightly fonder of you than you realize. We also underestimate the impact of small acts of kindness. Studies have shown that people who perform small, kind gestures, paying for someone's coffee, leaving a note of appreciation, holding a door, consistently underestimate how meaningful the recipient found it. The little things you do for others land with far more weight than you imagine. People remember how you made them feel long after they have forgotten what you said. This observation, often attributed to Maya Angelou, has been validated repeatedly in memory research. Emotional memory is among the most durable forms of memory. The feeling of being valued, seen, or comforted by another person encodes deeply and persists for years. How you treat people is what remains of you in them. The bond between close friends shares many neurological features with romantic love. Close friendship activates the brain's reward circuitry, triggers oxytocin release, and produces the same feelings of safety and warmth associated with romantic attachment. Friendship is not a lesser form of love. It is one of love's most enduring and sustaining expressions. People with at least one close confidant, one person they can tell anything to, report significantly higher life satisfaction than those without. Not a large social network, not many acquaintances, just one person who truly knows you. The depth of connection matters far more than the breadth. One real relationship outweighs 100 surface ones. Volunteering regularly is associated with a 40% lower risk of hypertension in older adults. The act of giving time and care to others produces measurable cardiovascular benefits. Generosity is not just emotionally rewarding. It is physically protective. The heart, it seems, is healthiest when it is turned outward. Feeling loved activates the ventral tegmental area of the brain, the same region activated by all the things humans find most rewarding: food, beauty, music, and discovery. Love is not a soft and decorative part of human experience. It is at the very center of what the brain finds worth living for. It is, neurologically speaking, among the most profound things we can feel. Humans have an innate tendency toward fairness that appears very early in development. Toddlers as young as 15 months show distress when they see resources distributed unequally. The sense that things should be fair, that people should be treated with equal dignity, is not taught to us by society. It rises from something older and more fundamental than culture. Compassionate touch, a hand on the shoulder or the back, has been shown to increase cooperative behavior between strangers. People who are briefly and appropriately touched by another person before a negotiation or shared task perform more generously and collaboratively than those who are not. Touch communicates care, and care produces cooperation. We work better together when we feel safe with each other. The Japanese concept of ame describes a warm, trusting dependence on another person's goodwill, the feeling of being able to lean into someone's care without shame. Many languages have words for forms of love and connection that English does not. This suggests that the territory of human connection is far richer and more varied than any single language can fully map. We are still learning the vocabulary of how we belong to each other. People who report feeling loved live measurably longer and healthier lives, even after controlling for income, education, and access to healthcare. Being loved is a health variable. The experience of mattering to someone, of being held in another person's regard, protects the body in ways that medicine is still working to fully understand. Kindness toward yourself, self-compassion, is associated with greater kindness toward others. People who treat themselves with gentleness when they fail or struggle are more, not less, generous toward others who are failing or struggling. Self-compassion is not selfishness. It is the soil from which genuine care for others grows. The ability to be vulnerable with another person, to let yourself be known imperfectly and fully, is associated with deeper and more satisfying relationships. Vulnerability researcher Brené Brown has described vulnerability not as weakness, but as the birthplace of connection. When we show up as we actually are, we give others permission to do the same. And in that shared honesty, real intimacy becomes possible. Humans are the only species known to cry emotional tears. Other animals cry in response to pain, but only humans shed tears in response to joy, grief, tenderness, beauty, and overwhelming love. Emotional tears contain different chemical compositions than tears caused by eye irritation. They release stress hormones and may signal to others that we need care. Crying is, among other things, a form of reaching out. Being witnessed in grief, having someone sit with you in your pain without trying to fix or minimize it, is one of the most healing things one human can offer another. The presence of a compassionate witness transforms grief from an experience of isolation into an experience of shared humanity. We do not heal alone. We heal in the company of those who can bear to see us. The relationships we maintain across a lifetime require regular tending to remain alive. Research on long-term friendships and partnerships consistently finds that closeness does not sustain itself automatically. It requires small daily investments, a question asked with genuine interest, a memory shared, a moment of undivided attention. Love is not a state we arrive at, it is a practice we return to. Humans are capable of love that transcends self-interest to a remarkable degree. Parents run into burning buildings for their children. Strangers risk their lives for people they have never met. History is filled with examples of people choosing another's survival over their own. Whatever we are also capable of this. That capacity is part of what we are made of. The most satisfied long-term couples are not those who never argue, but those who repair well after conflict. The ability to return to connection after rupture, to say I am sorry and mean it, to choose the relationship over the point, is more predictive of lasting happiness than the absence of conflict. All close relationships contain friction. What matters is what happens afterward. Saying thank you with specificity, naming exactly what someone did and why it mattered, is more powerful than a general expression of gratitude. When you say you helped me feel less alone when I needed it most rather than just thank you, the other person feels truly seen. Specific gratitude is a form of attention, and attention, given fully, is one of the deepest forms of love. Loneliness tends to be contagious at the edges of social networks. When one person in a social group becomes isolated, those nearest to them are more likely to become isolated in turn. But the reverse is also true. When one person reaches out and invites connection, it sends a ripple through the network. One person choosing to include someone can change a community. Children who are read to regularly develop greater empathy than those who are not. The act of inhabiting another person's perspective through story, of following a character's inner world across the arc of a narrative, builds the neural pathways associated with perspective-taking and compassion. Stories are empathy training. Every book a child loves is practicing for how to be human. We are drawn to people who make us feel good about ourselves, not through flattery, but through genuine interest and acceptance. The psychologist Arthur Aaron found that deep, escalating self-disclosure between strangers created genuine feelings of closeness within minutes. When someone asks us real questions and truly listens to our real answers, we feel warmth toward them almost immediately. Being known is one of the most irresistible experiences available to us. People often underreport how connected they feel to others when surveyed in isolation, but report much higher connection when surveyed in social contexts. We forget, when we are alone, how much we are held. We forget the accumulation of warmth that has gathered around us over a lifetime. Sometimes the simplest act of remembering, of deliberately calling to mind the people who love you, is enough to feel less alone. There are people alive today who owe their lives to a stranger's kindness, a donation, a rescue, a phone call made at exactly the right moment. Most of those people will never know each other's names. The web of human kindness is vast and largely invisible. You move through it every day, held up in ways you will never fully see. And now the world grows quieter around you. The facts have drifted by like slow boats on a dark river, each one carrying a small light. Love is not a single thing. It is an accumulation. It is the hand held in the hospital room and the meal left on a neighbor's porch. It is the friend who calls without knowing why, only that something told them to. It is the stranger who smiled at exactly the right moment. It is you, here, at the end of a long day, choosing rest. You are someone's reason. You are someone's warmth. You are part of the invisible web that holds the world in place. And tonight, that web holds you in return. You do not have to do anything to deserve this. You already belong to it. You already are it. Tonight, as your breathing slows and the thoughts grow softer, know that somewhere right now, someone is being kind. Somewhere, a hand is being held. Somewhere, two people are laughing at the exact same thing and feeling, for a moment, like the world makes sense. You are part of that same human story. The same ancient, tender, improbable story of people finding each other in the dark and choosing to stay close. Rest now. You are loved, you are connected, and you always were. Good night.